other. So I think what you want to do is have faith. And so you want to use knowledge, action, and faith to face your fears.
I like it. I like it.
Oh,
knowledge,
good.
action, faith. We'll keep it. I think I read it somewhere.
It's in there.
It's definitely in there.
It's in there.
Definitely in there. So when, I mean, I think what, you touched on some very important things there in terms of us taking the steps to take education, to go get that. And what I find though sometimes is that people are have that hesitancy to act at all. So do you just kind of suggest let yourself feel it, and then you just keep going, kind of like push through it? And some of the work that I do will be with people on their belief system. So it's trying to understand, well, what may you believe underneath it that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't deserve it, that kind of thing. And recognize that, turn that around. I do that in some of my educational seminars too.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, you have to believe in your ability to achieve your goal, regardless of what that goal is. And sometimes it might be surrounding yourself with other people who have done it. Sometimes it's talking to a professional like yourself. Sometimes it's reading to understand that, oh, I can do this. It's not that, and sometimes you have to be inspired by other people who've taken the journey. So I think it's important that you do believe, though. You have to believe that you can achieve whatever that goal is. Because if you don't, you won't achieve the goal, regardless of what it is, because you don't believe in it yourself.
Right, right. When I work with people on their dreams and goals, it's choosing some that they can actually start to even realize now. Feel the feelings of what it can be like, because what you're highlighting, what I'm getting from it too, is that if people set something that they feel like, oh, it's not going to happen, they don't feel the inspiration now to do anything about it because they've lost hope already. And I think that idea of trusting and having that faith is so important. And right now, moving a little bit more to a broader basis, I think we're in very much a trust crisis.
Yes.
It's that Nicolette of the Financial Planning Association was just talking about that, and that it's almost like consumers don't know who to trust.
Yes.
They look at Washington and they're like, do they know what they're doing? They look at their spouse, their family, do you know what we need to be doing? And so really kind of in this uncertainty, and I think that's where some of the panic ends up coming from.
Well, I think too, right, you're absolutely right. Right now we have a loss of confidence in our government, in our financial institutions, even in some of our family members who, signed away that house, and people are saying, what were you doing? People are getting divorced because of the foreclosure crisis. And so we have a lot of loss of confidence there. And I think that one thing we have to do is help people refine their confidence, not only in themselves, but also in our government and our economic system. And I think the way you do that is one person at a time. You help one person understand, okay, we can get back on our feet, we can overcome this. And I think when you're looking at how can you help people, I think that's why it's important to write it down. Write your goal down. See, what's your plan or strategy to achieve that goal? See, most people never achieve their goals because they don't have a plan to achieve their goals. We think that success just happened, but it isn't. It doesn't just happen, it's planned. And so you want to have a realistic plan that looks at your particular situation, that helps you understand, if I take these 3 or 4 steps, in time I will reach my goals.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about what that plan could look like for people? And because I think sometimes people think, oh, okay, so I can write down my goals. Even that I find is a big step.
Oh, it is.
Because, and I'm curious to hear why you find that it's a big step for people. Some of what I get is that it's a level of commitment. It's a level of saying, yes, I really want that, and I'm willing to put it down on paper to show you. I think there's also a bit of, people are afraid to put it down because then if they don't achieve it, what does that mean about them?
Right. Well,
does that mean they're a failure somehow?
Yeah, I think people need to understand that the life they're living today is really a reflection of something they thought about 4 or 5 years ago. And so if you don't like the life that you're living today, you have to look at, well, what was I trying to do? And how do I change that? And how do I get to the place I really want to go? So you have to take those inner thoughts and write them down, look at them, think about them, and then make a decision if that's what I really want to do. And see, sometimes we never do that. We never have that journey within that really helps us understand where we want to go. I think one book, I forgot which one it was, I wrote that most Americans think that life is pursuing somebody else's dreams. Okay, but it really isn't. Success is really about pursuing your dreams. But you have to decide what your dreams are.
Absolutely. I mean, success is a very personal thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
exactly. And so that's why it's important for people to get out of them, to think about it, to plan. You can change. But a lot of people just go through life without a plan, without thinking about where do I really want to go. And then when they get to a place that they don't want to be, they wonder how I got there.
Yeah.
So
Right. There's a great quote by Lao Tzu. He says, if you don't know what road you want to take, any road will take you there.
Right, exactly.
If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Right.
And I think that often people spend time almost reacting instead of being proactive about where they want to go.
And one of the great things, I mean, again, we have to keep in mind that we're going to go through a very turbulent time in our economy for a couple of years. There are going to be some tough times that Americans haven't gone through before. But the reality is that we will survive this. And the question is, how will you be after this time is over? Will you be in a better position financially, or will you be in a worse position financially? If you take steps, no matter what happens, if you understand that you are the master of your financial life, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. But if again you just think, oh, the economy is bad, we're in a recession, I just lost my home, my life is over, the person I love has left me, there's nothing I can do.
You become the victim of your circumstances all of a sudden.
Okay.
Right.
Instead of realizing that you always can be victorious over your circumstances.
I like that.
Yeah, it may take time, but you can do that.
Right. Well, that's when people can feel empowered.
Well, that's why I think it's important. And you know, I wrote this book to talk about the emotional side of financial success. And I'm happy to see that other people are doing the same thing. That other people are saying, when you're dealing with someone's finances, you have to deal with the whole person. It has to be a holistic approach. It's not just about what's in their checking account or what's in their pocket even.
Right.
It's really about what's inside of them. And if you can understand that and help them with their emotional life and their physical and spiritual life, then people can reach their goals.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of why we ended up hitting it off from the beginning, because that's very much my approach as a wealth coach, is to understand that it's combining that practical, but also with a real inspirational, with a real heart side, a real caring side, because if you're not able to go there, then you're not really going to get anywhere most of the time, because people, you know, they're just kind of staying stuck.
Yeah, well, there's two things to that, to your point. One is that success is about more than money. You know, it's about lifestyle, it's about sharing, it's about giving, it's about feeling comfortable. And then the other thing, what people have to understand, that even when you're building your financial success, that the finance part is only about 25% of the equation. What really helps people become financially successful is having the courage. Okay, that's more important than having the cash. It's about having the wisdom to know, you know, what steps to take to have a financial plan. He has to own your own home. He has to invest on a regular basis and to save, and to have your your basic insurance in place. This is how people become financially successful. And if you're brave enough to have your own business. And so when people understand these things, they realize, oh, I can do that. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Right. It's often that not knowing, that uncertainty, that ends up creating the fears. Sometimes because they're like, oh, I can't do it. And then as soon as they get educated, so I appreciate that no is high on your list. I have an idea system, I call it, IDEA, and education is a very key component of that too.
Yes.
And then that's when people can feel very empowered.
I think we have to talk about entrepreneurship and its importance. Because
That'd be great.
A lot of time we don't realize that how people become financially successful in America, the quickest way is to own your own business. And if you don't feel you want to do that, but you still want to have the same type of reward, then do the next best thing, which is to invest in someone else's business. And that's why we invest in publicly traded companies. That's why we invest in mutual funds. And yes, we've just come through a period where people lost a lot of money in doing that. But most of those people were well diversified. I mean, they had mutual funds. So yes, some of their portfolio is down, but for the most part, they still have other assets that are doing well. We have to keep in mind that right now, the financial sectors are going through a difficult time. But overall, energy is doing well. Pharmaceutical is doing well. There are other sectors that are doing well. And so what you want to do is have that diversification by having a mutual fund or investing in different companies and even different industries. So times like this, you'll be okay.
And different types of assets,
yes.
touched on too, and some stocks, some bonds, that kind of thing. And I mean, you touched on the concept of having a comprehensive plan and how empowering that can be. There was a survey